So today I get to share with you something that I have been thinking about for a long time, and I will probably wrestle with it till I die, okay? So always learning, and it's a paradox. First, let's make sure that we're all talking the same language with what I mean by paradox. Basically, it's when two things that seem opposing or opposite and couldn't be at the same time, they are. It's kind of puzzling and mysterious. Let me give you an example. Are you ever hungry and full at the same time? All the time. Like, how can this be? And when do I get to eat next? That's often my question. And in our Bibles, we have a lot of paradoxes. God is just and merciful at the same time. God chose us before the world began, but we choose to follow him and make him Lord. I don't understand how that works. I just say, yes, okay. Let me give you one example personally. Ben and I have been married and we don't have kids. And for some people that doesn't work, that doesn't make sense. I don't always get it. But years ago, I was at a baby shower. Might get awkward here for a second. Yes. I'm in a group of women that I don't really know, getting to know them. And all of a sudden, one of the women in front of the others says, "So do you not like children?" And I'm thinking, well, I'm at a baby shower. So here's what I said, because I didn't know what to say. I said, "I lock them in my basement and I eat them for dinner," because I was so embarrassed and I felt so misunderstood, and that's what I do sometimes. I make a joke. It wasn't in this woman's understanding that these things could exist at the same time. I could be married and not have children, but I could still like them. And I know that doesn't feel good when you feel judged, when you feel put in a box. And I know this has happened to you because you've been alive for more than 10 seconds. And when we don't feel that we belong, that we're seen, what do? We avoid eye contact, we isolate. If you ask how I'm doing, maybe I won't be straightforward next time because I can't trust that you'll get me. If I'm really excited, I might not share it with you because maybe you won't understand why this is really a big deal to me. One of the invitations that we have as the church is to embrace paradoxes. And the one that we're going to talk about today that is really confusing is people can grieve and have joy all at once. And in a room this size, all of those can exist. There's room at the table for joy and for grief. And to demonstrate this, I made a Venn diagram for you. Because I love Venn diagrams. You should have it in your worship guide. So you can see that on the one side we have joy. Some of you are my joy bringers. You celebrate, you're encouraging, you're excited. You help me be excited when I'm not in a good place. And we need you. We need you. Yes, you. I've seen Toby dance. Joy. And then on the other side, we have grief. Some of you know how to mourn. You know how to sit in ucky discomfort. You've done it with me. You've gone on walks with me and listened to my yuck. We need you to show us how to do this. And then we have the middle part, this part of the Venn diagram where these are existing at the same time. We don't have to choose. In a given moment, you might have both of these feelings, and others, maybe you don't even know if it's on the Venn diagram where you're at. And in a room this size, we get to honor those griefs, joys, all at the same time. I think for a lot of my life, I somehow thought that I had to get past all the sorrow and the grief to get to joy. But that doesn't work, because if I wait for joy till all those things are gone, I'm never going to get the joy. And Jesus is joy. But we have a tool that we can use when we're stuck in grief or we're having trouble, and that is called lament. It's not a word that I hear a lot other than at church. What is lament? Basically, it's an honest expression of pain and an honest expression of trust. And it's a tool that can open the door to joy. Our Bible is packed with lamenters. We have Hannah, who's barren. She's sobbing. We have Job. We have an entire book called Lamentations. And this week, I didn't realize that there are more lament psalms than praise psalms. That's really encouraging to me that humans have been crying out in pain for a long time. And we're going to use one of those psalms today. We started with a psalm of praise, though, this morning to remind ourselves that there's joy, because we need both. So as we read through this lament psalm, Psalm 143, let's remember that this isn't a list of rules. What the laments are, they're songs and poems written by ancient people who wrestled with God in their pain. And we have things to learn from these various expressions. So I'm going to take a deep breath, and then I'm going to read it, and then I'm going to quickly go through some things I noticed so that we can practice it. So Psalm 143, this is a prayer for help and guidance. It's a psalm of David. Hear my prayer, Lord. Listen to my pleadings. Answer me in your faithfulness, in your righteousness, and do not enter into judgment with your servant, for no person living is righteous in your sight. For the enemy has persecuted my soul. He has crushed my life to the ground. He has made me dwell in dark places like those who have long been dead. Therefore, my spirit feels weak within me. My heart is appalled within me. I remember the days of old. I meditate on all your accomplishments. I reflect on the work of your hands. I spread out my hands to you. My soul longs for you like a weary land. Selah. Answer me quickly, Lord. My spirit fails. Do not hide your face from me, or I will be the same as those who go down to the pit. Let me hear your faithfulness in the morning, for I trust in you. Teach me the way in which I should walk, for to you I lift up my soul. Save me, Lord, from my enemies. I take refuge in you. Teach me to do your will, for you are my God. Let your good spirit lead me on level ground. For the sake of your name, Lord, revive me. In your righteousness, bring my soul out of trouble. And in your faithfulness, destroy my enemies and eliminate all those who attack my soul. For I am your servant. Let's just Selah for a moment. Let's pause for a minute. Okay, here are some things I've noticed about this psalm. One, David goes right in and says, listen to me, hear me now. He's not shy. He believes that his words matter. So if you are lamenting, ask God to listen to you. Next, he reminds God of what God's character is like, which is kind of funny, because really when we tell God that you're faithful, you're righteous, listen, we're really reminding ourselves that that is what God is like. So remind God who he is. Then he asked not to be judged. This is probably written at the end of David's life, and David has done some stuff. I've done some stuff. But because of Jesus, I can say I'm not condemned. So God, please hear me. Don't judge me. Be merciful. Next, he's very clear about his grief. He doesn't tell us who his specific enemy is. It could be his son Absalom, but he doesn't name it. But he does name what he is upset about. And he describes it. He feels crushed. He feels like he's in a dark place. What's important is that he's getting these feelings out to God. There's a psychologist I really enjoy listening to. Her name is Susan David. She talks about emotional agility, and she explains that the more we try to ignore our emotions, the greater they can grow because they're stuffed in there. But once we can express it and get it out, that's often when the beauty rushes in. So tell grief to God, and I'd encourage you to ask him, is there someone I need to share my grief with so it can be heard and it can be honored, and I can be encouraged to keep wrestling? Next, David recounts the goodness of the past. I need to remember what good God has done already. Crisis and grief for me, it feels like a black curtain has been pulled over the window. And once I start remembering, oh, I've been healed of cancer. I have a car that someone gave me. I have a room full of people who love me. It's like pulling the black curtains aside and realizing, oh, the sun's been out there the whole time. So that's what remembering the goodness of the past is. Next, David uses his body. I like to move and groove. I think y'all know this if you've seen me for 10 seconds. He uses his body, so it might be kneeling, it might be getting on your face, it might be lifting out your hands. David uses his body in his lament. And then this little word, Selah, this concept of pause now, be quiet. As we're lamenting, talk to God and then give him a minute to respond. And then what I love is right after that pause of quiet, he's back at it again. It's like rinse, repeat, until we work our way out. The thing that I love as he's going along, though, is we see a little bit of progress here, and he says, I trust in you. Sometimes I don't trust, but when I say the words out loud, then I start to actually feel it. So sometimes we say trust in order to do it. And he's also at the point several times near the end where he's saying, teach me. He says, teach me twice. And he says, Spirit, lead me. He's shared a lot, and he is ready maybe to be redirected. So ask God to teach you. Is there anything I'm missing here? And this last section, this one is hard for me. I was talking with Ben. I almost changed the psalm I was going to use because I don't like violent language. I just want to be really honest and vulnerable about that. Because David talks about his enemies being destroyed, and with so much violence going on in the world, often with God's name attached, I cringe at that. And Jesus, on the Sermon on the Mount, this is what Jesus said. You have heard that it was said, love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I tell you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you, so that you may be sons of your Father in heaven. So where I'm at today, right now, is that both in David's psalm and in what Jesus is saying is we take our enemies to God in prayer. We tell him how we're feeling about our enemies. And something I was taught many years ago is once I tell God how I feel about that person who is just bugging me and making my life miserable, I then get to ask God, how do you see that person? Do you have a prayer that I can pray about that person? And oftentimes God has adjusted what needed to be adjusted. So your enemies, take them to God in prayer and be honest and wait for his response. So these are the main things that I see in this psalm. And now I want to give us an opportunity to do that for a minute together. And we can do this quietly, but I want to just give us a minute or two to walk through some of these ideas in the psalm. So first, I'm going to declare, God, you're here. Hear us. Listen. And now, Lord, in this moment, would you meet with each person? If there is a pain or a grief or a stress that they need joy to intervene in there with, would you right now bring it to their mind? So just right now, I'll give you a minute. If anything comes to mind, a person or a picture, an image that you want joy to come into today, tell God that. And if there's anything that's come to mind, I want to invite you to open your beautiful hands. Imagine that thing, that pain, that enemy, that stress. Imagine that is in your hand in a little ball, and you stretch out those hands and hand it to Jesus. Hand it to God. And ask God right now, is there any joy in this situation that you'd like to give me? Pay attention if a picture, an image, or anything comes to mind, and just receive it. And if you're not sure, find someone maybe after church today. If you need prayer to work through it a little bit more, I'd be happy to pray with you. So that's our psalm today. That's an example of how you can pray a lament. The reality is that I can't be perfect. You can't be perfect. But we can learn to create honest spaces. Because that's confession. Confession can be this big, scary word, but it's simply telling the truth. What I know is that when I can be seen, then a little bit of the loneliness goes away. I can't change the whole world, but I might be able to help one person feel seen in their joy and in their grief. And at the end of the day, this paradox of joy and grief and this tool of lament that we use to work it through, it looks like Jesus. He weeps at the death of his friend Lazarus, even though he knows he's just about to raise him from the dead. He creates this space for grief because he's going to create an even greater space for joy. He makes really good wine at a wedding. Yeah, he shows up at parties and funerals, and that's our invitation as followers of him, that we can show up. Even if we really don't know what to say or what to do, we can show up. You've showed up for me. And the thing that I'm so grateful for, I don't quite understand it, this God, he doesn't just create spaces for us, he became our lead lamenter. Matthew and Mark tell us that he quotes another psalm of lament, Psalm 22. He cries out in a loud voice. It's recorded so that we know 2,000 years later, that he said this. He says, my God, why have you forsaken me? He feels alone. But then Luke tells us that right before he dies, he says, Father, into your hands I commit my spirit. I trust you. He publicly laments. He expresses intense grief, intense trust, and then intense joy comes. Because we are not going to lament forever. We are going to stop weeping at some point. But right now, we get to practice this together. And much of what I have learned about this tension of joy and grief and how to lament is because of you. And I'm really not going to try to ugly cry here. I'm going to try not to do that. I'm going to try. If not, we'll get through it together. We can lament about it. If you don't know kind of what's happened in my life the past 5 or 6 years, do you guys remember 2020? Okay, yeah, we remember that year. Oh boy. So we're all in lockdown, right? We're all in lockdown, and I am watching the news. I'm watching and crying as people are locked out of hospitals, as their family members are dying, because we don't want to spread it. We don't want to do all that. And 6 weeks later, we become one of those families. I didn't plan that. I talked to my mom on FaceTime because we weren't interacting. We think she's going in for kidney stones, and 2 hours later, she has sepsis, she has heart failure, and she slips into a coma, and 10 days or so later, we end life support, and I'm saying goodbye to my mom while a nurse is holding up an iPad. My mom is on the other side of that wall, and I can't get to her. And you know, I was really disappointed. Do you know you can love Jesus and be really disappointed at the same time? Yep, you all know this. And then we're all in lockdown for a long time. So I think it's 2 years later maybe that we're kind of finally getting back to normal. And we weren't able to have a funeral or a memorial. And Pastor Ken knew that many of us had lost people, and we hadn't been able to share that grief. And that was the first of multiple years when once a year together we just remind ourselves who we've lost. And I am convinced that you have been part of my healing journey, because AI cannot replace you. Technology can't replace the breath of God in each one of you and what that connection with you does for me. So I want to say thank you. Thank you for letting me be in that messy middle of the Venn diagram, for letting me lament. You already do this so well, and so really, I just want to affirm a few things that I already see that we're doing so well and that we can keep on doing, and you probably would have some more ideas to add. So I just picked 4, and the reason I just want to affirm you is that as the world seems to just be getting worse and worse and worse, as the church, we get to lead in celebration and lead in lament. Because people need to know that they can be seen right where they're at here, but there is joy that we can help get to. We can find it. So here's the first thing that I see is we don't make it too complicated. That one's for me. Sometimes we put effort into big services, whether they're celebrations or remembrances, but sometimes it's just simple as we gather like Ben did this morning. We just acknowledge the spectrum of emotion here. You know, one of the things I love is we have Sharon here, who is our celebrator. She creates so many opportunities to celebrate. So we just keep doing this as our natural rhythm, and we don't make it too complicated. Number 2, we spend time alone with God. We ask him in our alone time, is there something to celebrate? And is there a prayer of praise I can write? Is there something that I need to grieve over? And maybe I write a prayer of lament. And then after that time with God, ask him, can I share this with anyone? Can I celebrate, or can my grief be heard by anyone? So we don't make it too complicated. We spend time alone with God. Number 3, we can become joy hunters. And here's what I mean by that. Sometimes joy just comes amazingly, miraculously, like a beautiful sunset outside. I don't have to do anything. It's a gift. But often I have to work at it. So asking God, as this grief is coming, this crisis, is there any joy or beauty to be had here? There might be things you used to do or people you used to spend time around who brought you joy, and maybe you're not doing them anymore, you don't see those people. So ask him, is there something, an activity I can participate in that would release joy? And the last one, I think this is my favorite one. Kids. Contrary to what some might think, I do not hate children, and I don't even have a basement. Okay? We need children. Oh, we need them. Because they're honest about how they feel, and they're just naturally bring joy, though. They just teach us what God is like. Henry Nouwen, in his book Here and Now, he tells us that smiles and laughter open the doors to the kingdom, which is why Jesus tells us to be like children. So here at our church, kids are essential. They are natural joy givers. So at the end of the service, we're actually going to do a little celebration for one of our kids. Stay tuned. I want to end my time. I want to read you words of hope right now, words of promise from Revelation. And I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, "Look, God's dwelling place is now among the people, and he will dwell with them. They will be his people, and God himself will be with them and be their God. He will wipe away every tear from their eyes. There will be no more death, or mourning, or crying, or pain, for the old order of things has passed away." He who was seated on the throne said, "I am making everything new." Then he said, "Write this down, for these words are trustworthy and true." Jesus, thank you that you are our lead joy giver. You are our lead lamenter. You are the King who is coming. Thank you that you were born as a vulnerable baby. You grew up as a vulnerable man. You died. You rose to life, and you are returning. And anyone who calls on you will be saved and has this promise. Thank you, Jesus. Amen.